Everyone warned her about him, but she didn't listen until it was too late. Emma had always been the kind of person who saw the world through rose-colored glasses. Vibrant and full of life, she carried with her a boundless hope and an unwavering belief in the good of people. She wasn't naive, but her trusting nature made her open-hearted, always ready to embrace new experiences, new friendships, and most importantly, new love. Emma dreamed of finding someone who could share her passions, her laughter, and her deepest fears. Her life was a delicate balance of optimism and resilience, and that balance was about to be tested in a way she never expected. One evening, at a small gathering hosted by a mutual friend, Emma's path crossed with Jason's. From the moment he walked into the room, there was an undeniable magnetism about him. Tall and confident, with a charming smile and eyes that seemed to hold secrets, Jason exuded an irresistible aura. He carried himself with an easy grace, the kind of charisma that effortlessly drew people in. When he spoke, his voice was smooth, sincere, every word carefully chosen to leave a lasting impression. Emma felt an immediate connection, as if fate had decided to bring them together. She was captivated by his stories, his laughter, and the way he looked at her like she was the only person in the room. But as the days passed and Emma's infatuation grew, whispers began to reach her ears. Friends who cared deeply for her took her aside with concerned expressions, trying gently to warn her about Jason. "He's not who he seems," her best friend Rachel cautioned one afternoon over coffee. "There are things about his past, things that don't add up." Even her family voiced their concerns, sharing stories they'd heard from others who had been hurt by him. At work, co-workers who knew Jason's reputation tried to drop hints, hoping she'd open her eyes. There were murmurs of broken promises, trust betrayed, and a trail of damaged relationships left in his wake. Emma heard the warnings, but something inside her refused to believe them. She told herself she was different, that she could see the good behind his charm. She convinced herself that this time, things would be different. The connection they shared was real, she thought, genuine in a way others couldn't understand. Her heart, hungry for love and connection, pushed away the doubts and the cautionary tales. To Emma, Jason was a chance at something beautiful, a chance to rewrite the story of her love life. Her judgment was clouded by the hope she carried, hope that sometimes even the darkest stories could have a happy ending. In the beginning, Emma felt like she was living in a dream she never wanted to wake from. Every moment with Jason was filled with excitement and warmth, like the world had suddenly grown brighter just for her. Their dates were effortless, filled with laughter and stolen glances that made Emma's heart race. Jason was always attentive, remembering little details about her favorite flowers, the songs she loved, and even the way she liked her coffee in the morning. These small, thoughtful gestures made Emma feel special, seen in a way she hadn't felt before. His charisma was magnetic. When he spoke, people listened, but it was Emma who felt like the center of his universe. Jason's charm extended beyond just words and actions. He had a way of making Emma feel safe, like he was her protector in a world that often seemed unpredictable and harsh. He was quick to offer support when she faced stressful days at work or personal challenges, always knowing just what to say to calm her worries. Emma found herself opening up to him more than she ever had with anyone else. She shared her dreams, her fears, even her insecurities, and Jason listened with an intensity that made her believe their connection was unbreakable. It was as if he knew exactly how to pull at her heartstrings, weaving a web that felt like love. Yet, beneath the glowing surface of their romance, the warnings Emma had heard before began to echo louder in her mind. Doubts crept in during quiet moments. Was Jason truly as perfect as he seemed? Her friends' and family's concerns weren't easily dismissed, but Emma's hope acted like a shield, protecting her from the darker possibilities. Whenever she felt that nagging unease, she pushed it aside, telling herself that those people just didn't understand him the way she did. The more her loved ones voiced their worries, the more Emma pulled away, not out of cruelty but out of a desperate need to protect what felt like the first real happiness she'd known in a long time. Together, Emma and Jason shared moments that seemed to promise a future full of joy, picnic dinners under the stars, weekend getaways filled with laughter, and quiet nights wrapped in each other's arms. Each experience deepened their bond and solidified Emma's belief that Jason was the man she had been waiting for. But behind the scenes, Jason's subtle manipulation began to surface. He would plant seeds of doubt about her friends, casually question her choices, or express frustration when she wanted to spend time with anyone else. Emma found herself excusing his behavior, telling herself he was just protective, that his past had made him wary. She rationalized every red flag, convincing herself that love meant working through these challenges together. Her heart blinded her to the warning signs that were already there, hidden beneath the surface of what seemed like a perfect romance. As the weeks turned into months, the man Emma thought she knew began to change in ways she couldn't ignore. Jason's once warm and charming demeanor started to crack, revealing sudden mood swings that left Emma on edge. One moment he could be affectionate and attentive, and the next, cold and distant without any clear explanation. His secretiveness grew too. He would shield his phone when she walked into the room or disappear for hours without answering her calls or texts. What had started as subtle shifts soon morphed into controlling behaviors. Jason began dictating who Emma could spend time with, how she dressed, and even questioned the way she handled her work. At first, these demands seemed like signs of care, but gradually they felt suffocating. Emma found herself confused, torn between the man she loved and the unsettling changes she saw. The isolation crept in slowly as Jason pressured her to distance herself from friends and family, warning her that they didn't have her best interests at heart. He planted seeds of doubt about everyone who tried to support her, insisting they were jealous or didn't understand their special connection. Emma's world grew smaller with each passing day, the circle of people she trusted shrinking under Jason's influence. Despite the growing loneliness, she clung fiercely to the hope that things would improve, that the man she fell in love with was still there beneath the changes. The breaking point came one evening during a dinner party with friends. What started as light conversation quickly spiraled into a heated argument between Jason and Emma's close friend, Mark. Jason accused Mark of trying to sabotage their relationship, his tone harsh and aggressive. Emma was shocked and embarrassed by his outburst, and the room fell silent as everyone exchanged uneasy glances. That night, as they drove home, Jason apologized but deflected blame, saying stress was getting to him and promising he'd do better. The incident shook Emma's trust but didn't shatter her hope. She told herself it was a one-time mistake, something she could forgive if he truly changed. Meanwhile, Emma's friends and family grew increasingly alarmed. Their warnings escalated from gentle concern to urgent pleas for Emma to see the truth. They noticed her withdrawing, her once bright spirit dimming under the weight of Jason's control. They shared stories of past betrayals, hoping to protect her before it was too late. Emma felt the tension rising like a storm inside her, torn between loyalty to Jason and the desperate voices of those who cared. Her world felt fragile enough to shatter with the slightest pressure. But even as doubt gnawed at her, she held onto a fragile thread of hope, believing love could overcome anything, even the darkness slowly creeping into their lives. The night everything unraveled started like any other. Jason had been distant all day, his mood darker than usual, and Emma felt a gnawing unease she tried desperately to ignore. But by the time they reached home, the facade of the charming man she once adored had completely crumbled. What followed was a torrent of harsh words, cruel accusations, and emotional manipulation that left Emma shattered. Jason lashed out, blaming her for every problem, twisting the truth until Emma felt like she was drowning in confusion and pain. It wasn't just words anymore. It was emotional abuse that cut deeper than any wound she'd known. But the worst was yet to come. Emma discovered Jason's betrayal in the most devastating way possible. She stumbled upon evidence of infidelity, messages and photos that confirmed everything she feared. The man who had promised her love, safety, and a future had been living a lie. It felt as if the ground beneath her feet had opened, swallowing her whole. The betrayal wasn't just about him cheating. It was about the trust that had been shattered, the dreams that evaporated in an instant. Shock immobilized her at first, leaving her unable to process the pain. Then came the heartbreak, a heavy weight pressing on her chest that made breathing difficult. Emma's emotional journey was a turbulent storm. First, denial wrapped around her like a protective cloak. She told herself the messages were mistakes, that Jason would explain, that it wasn't real. But as days passed, the reality became impossible to ignore. Anger surged next, a fierce, burning rage at Jason's deceit and at herself for falling so blindly. Fear followed, creeping in as she realized how deeply entangled she was in a relationship that had slowly poisoned her life. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, acceptance began to take root, a painful acknowledgement that Jason was not the man she thought he was and that their relationship was over. But breaking free was not easy. Emma wrestled with waves of self-blame, asking herself what she had missed, what she could have done differently. The emotional chains Jason had wrapped around her made the thought of leaving feel overwhelming. Practical challenges loomed too: shared finances, a lease signed jointly, friends and family who were divided in their advice. The fear of loneliness and starting over was paralyzing. Yet, in the midst of this struggle, Emma's loved one stepped forward. Her friends and family rallied around her, offering shelter, listening ears, and unwavering support. They reminded her of her worth and strength, even when she doubted herself. One night, alone in the quiet of her apartment, Emma's walls came down. She finally saw the full picture, the subtle warnings she'd ignored, the moments she had rationalized away. A painful clarity settled over her. She had been right to listen to those who warned her about Jason, but now it was too late to avoid the fallout. The consequences of Jason's actions were severe. Emma faced financial ruin from debts she hadn't known about, her reputation tarnished by rumors spread during their volatile relationship, and emotional trauma that would take months, maybe years, to heal. The person she had been before Jason, the hopeful, vibrant Emma, felt like a distant memory, replaced by someone cautious, scarred, but slowly rebuilding. This moment marked a turning point, harsh but necessary. Emma understood that healing would be a journey, one that required courage and the willingness to confront pain head-on. Though the damage was deep, the first step toward reclaiming her life had been taken. The woman who once ignored the warnings was now determined to never let herself be blind again. The road ahead was uncertain, but Emma was ready to walk it, stronger, wiser, and with a heart ready to heal. Emma's journey of recovery was neither quick nor easy, but it was filled with moments of profound transformation. After the storm of betrayal and heartbreak, she found herself leaning heavily on the support of those who truly cared for her. Her friends and family became her anchors, providing comfort when the nights felt darkest and encouragement when she doubted her own strength. With their unwavering presence, Emma took the crucial step of seeking professional help. Therapy sessions became a safe space where she could unravel the tangled emotions that had held her captive for so long. Through guided reflection and compassionate listening, she slowly began to piece herself back together. Reclaiming her life felt like climbing a steep mountain. The shadow of her toxic relationship loomed large, casting doubts on every decision she made. Sometimes, Emma questioned her worth, wondering if she was somehow responsible for what happened. But with each passing day, she learned to separate herself from the pain Jason had inflicted. She started recognizing that her identity was not defined by the relationship or the scars it left behind. This was a process marked by vulnerability. There were days when the grief overwhelmed her, tears flowed freely, and hope seemed distant. Yet, interwoven with those moments were sparks of resilience. Emma discovered a well of strength she hadn't known existed, a fierce determination to reclaim her life on her own terms. One of the most powerful lessons Emma learned was the importance of trusting her intuition. The warnings she had received before meeting Jason now resonated loudly in her heart. She understood that those voices of caution were rooted in love and concern, and that sometimes the hardest part of healing is accepting help and heeding wisdom from those around us. This newfound clarity empowered her to rebuild trust, not only in others but in herself. Slowly, Emma opened her heart again, forming deeper, healthier connections that nurtured rather than drained her spirit. Channeling her pain into something meaningful became a turning point. Emma immersed herself in advocacy work, dedicating time to support others who had faced similar experiences. She volunteered at local organizations focused on domestic abuse awareness and mental health, finding purpose in helping others reclaim their voices. Therapy transformed from a place of healing into a launching pad for growth, where she explored new passions and rediscovered old dreams shelved during her relationship. Emma started writing, sharing her story to inspire and educate, and even considered launching a support group to create a safe space for survivors. The most empowering moments came as Emma regained control over her life and confidence. She set boundaries that honored her well-being, pursued personal goals with renewed energy, and embraced self-care without guilt. Each small victory, a candid conversation with a loved one, a new friendship forged, a professional milestone, built momentum, reinforcing her sense of self-worth. Emma's laughter returned, her eyes sparkled with hope, and her smile reflected a woman who had weathered the storm and emerged stronger. Her relationships with friends and family, once strained by distance and doubt, blossomed anew. Emma and her loved ones found healing together, their bonds deepening through honesty and shared commitment to growth. They celebrated her progress and stood beside her through setbacks, creating a network of love that shielded her from loneliness. Through this process, Emma realized that love, in its healthiest form, is nurturing and supportive, never controlling or destructive. Though the scars of her past would remain, Emma's story became one of courage, resilience, and renewal. She moved forward with a heart open to possibility, grounded in the lessons she'd learned. The warnings she once ignored had become a guiding light, reminding her always to trust herself first. And in that trust, Emma found the strength to build a future defined not by pain, but by hope, healing, and unshakable self-belief. Looking back on everything she had been through, Emma found herself reflecting deeply on the lessons that experience had carved into her soul. Love, she realized, was not meant to blind you or diminish your sense of self. It was supposed to uplift, support, and bring out the best in you. Trust was precious, not something to give lightly, and self-respect was the foundation that allowed love to thrive in a healthy, balanced way. The painful truth she learned was that ignoring red flags and warnings, no matter how much you hope for the best, often leads to heartbreak and loss. Yet, amid the pain, Emma also discovered that recovery is not only possible, it's a path to becoming stronger and more whole than before. Emma came to understand the vital importance of community. The voices of friends and family, those who saw what she couldn't, were never meant to be silenced or dismissed. Sometimes, the people around you can see the shadows before you do, and listening to their concerns is an act of courage, not weakness. Trusting your gut, those quiet instincts that whisper when something feels off, can save you from unimaginable hurt. Emma now knew that it was okay to take those warnings seriously, to pause, reflect, and protect herself, even if it meant facing uncomfortable truths. This reflection wasn't just a personal reckoning, it was a message Emma wanted to share with others. She hoped her story would serve as a subtle but urgent warning. Don't ignore the signs that something isn't right. Love should never make you feel small, scared, or trapped. If you find yourself brushing off doubts because you want to believe in someone, take a moment to listen carefully to what your heart and your community are telling you. Ignoring those red flags might lead to painful consequences, but awareness and support can light the way to healing. Now, Emma stood stronger and wiser, her heart ready to embrace a healthier future. She was no longer the woman who overlooked warnings out of hope or fear of loneliness. Instead, she was a woman who had learned to balance love with self-respect, to trust herself deeply, and to cherish the people who truly cared. Her past no longer defined her. It informed her journey forward, a journey of resilience, empowerment, and hope. And with that, Emma was ready to step boldly into the future she deserved. If Emma's story resonated with you, don't hesitate to share your own experiences or moments when listening to warnings changed your life. By speaking up, you help others feel less alone and more empowered. Remember, support can make all the difference. Reach out to friends, family, or professionals if you or someone you know is facing a toxic relationship. Learn to spot the red flags early and trust your instincts. Because sometimes, everyone warned you about someone, for a reason. Don't wait until it's too late to protect your heart and reclaim your life.